So, we are in the chapter of Indo-Pak relations, and various aspects of Indo-Pak relations we are discussing, and one important component or important topic within Indo-Pak relation is Jammu and Kashmir, and I have already talked about various angles. Now, another specific topic I would like to talk in Jammu and Kashmir related to Indo-Pak relation is the the role of plebiscite and the role of UN in Jammu and Kashmir. You might have heard about this word plebiscite and the role of UN. So, I would like to talk about that. So, the present topic is plebiscite and the role of UN. In Jammu and Kashmir. So, plebiscite and the role of UN in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, first of all, let me just remind you this word plebiscite and referendum. So, this is another term which always been in discussion is referendum. So, this referendum and plebiscite, how is it different? In fact, plebiscite is a direct vote of all the members of an electorate, all will be allowed to vote, even in referendum all will be allowed to vote on an important public question such as a change in the constitution. So, plebiscite where all the members will vote on an important question like change in the constitution, or whereas a referendum is also where people are asked to vote, but normally they are asked to give an opinion, and many a times they are asked to decide about an important political or a social question. So, many a times referendum is where people are asked to give an opinion on an important political or a social question, So, whereas in a plebiscite it is more like earlier, and if you look at the history of plebiscite, this is more used in an undemocratic conditions. See, in before the Second World War, this plebiscite was used extensively by Italy, Mussolini's Italy, Hitler's Germany. So, they used it more like they were asked to give to legitimize the decisions of legitimize the decisions of those autocratic rulers. So, that is how plebiscite was used in many conditions, or in many situations it was more an undemocratic rather than democratic. And but in fact this referendum, when it comes to referendum, it may be binding, it may not be, it may be an advisory also. So, referendum can be binding, it can be even advisory. It need not be binding. Okay, application maybe it may vary from state to state. And but when it comes to this, when referendum and plebiscite, if you look that way, both are almost same. But the difference is, especially in the 20th century, this word plebiscite is used in the context of change in sovereignty. Plebiscite is more used in the context of change in sovereignty. That means people are asked about their sovereignty. Are you willing to, or what is your, see, a plebiscite was conducted in Junagadh, plebiscite was conducted in Hyderabad, where people are asked about the sovereignty, people overwhelmingly voted. So, generally we can say that first of all, two things we can remember, plebiscite and referendum more or less same, but in plebiscite it is more like constitution, the passing a constitution, changing of sovereignty and all, plebiscite word is more used. And if you look historically, especially before the Second World War, it is more used in an undemocratic way rather than in a democratic way. So, it is more, plebiscite looks like a bit undemocratic, but it is not. You are asking an opinion. So, the opinion of the people generally are binding. The decision has to be taken, yes or no. If a plebiscite opinion is binding, whereas in in referendum it can be binding or advisory. For example, a referendum was conducted in Britain regarding exit from European Union, which is called Brexit. So its opinion is not binding, it is only an opinion, it is an advisory opinion, but British Parliament decided to follow that because majority people, more than 50% of the people said that they would like to exit from European Union. So that is the difference. So plebiscite is in the context of change in sovereignty, that is what is used. So where is the plebiscite issue has come? See, after Maharaja Hari Singh joined Indian Union, or rather just before joining, when the tribal started attacking or the tribal uprising took place, and when the tribal uprising reached almost on the doorsteps of Srinagar, Maharaja Hari Singh decided to join Indian Union. And naturally, immediately after that, we were talking about the plebiscite. In fact, India talked about plebiscite. So, but if you look at plebiscite in the freedom struggle or during the freedom time, it was first discussed during the Junagadh dispute. During the Junagadh dispute, when the ruler of Junagadh, which is well within Gujarat, decided to join, the Muslim ruler decided to join Pakistan, whereas the majority people were Hindus. So the Sardar Patel at that time proposed a plebiscite. The people revolted. Sardar Patel proposed a plebiscite, and this plebiscite was held in 1948. And the people of Junagadh overwhelmingly voted to join Indian Union. Similarly, in Kashmir, in November, 1947, in 1947 November, our the then Viceroy and Governor General Mountbatten went to Lahore to discuss the issue of Kashmir, Junagadh and Hyderabad, and he proposed a plebiscite. So plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir, Junagadh and Hyderabad were proposed by Lord Mountbatten. Okay, it is proposed by Lord Mountbatten. When he visited Lahore, and this proposal was given to Jinnah, but Jinnah rejected it, especially on Hyderabad. He said Hyderabad's joining Pakistan is non-negotiable. That was the Jinnah's position at that time. So this this plebiscite issue, which is discussed in 1947 November by Lord Mountbatten, was rejected by Jinnah, especially in the context of Hyderabad, not in the context of Jammu and Kashmir and all. In 1948, after Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir joined Indian Union, as you know, on 26th of October 1947, Jammu and Kashmir joined Indian Union. Then in 1948, in early 1948, India approached the UN Security Council. India approached the UN when the war is still going on, Security Council, and asked for a plebiscite. India demanded, and we talked about a plebiscite. India said, we are ready for a plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir. And subsequently, even in 1953, our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru at that time once again reiterated India's readiness to talk about, or readiness for plebiscite as a mechanism to solve the Kashmir issue. Okay, so even in 1953, Prime Minister Nehru demanded, or we accepted, or we said that we are ready for a plebiscite. We were ready for a plebiscite. So this is what is criticized repeatedly by many people of Nehru. But please understand, when we approached 1948, even in 1953, we were 100% confident of the people's support to Indian Union. So he had a plebiscite been held at that time, majority, why majority? Maybe I will say more than 90% of the people would have been voting for this, joining Indian Union without any failure. He was so confident about the people's support at that time. And when in 1948 we approached, in fact, on 1st January 1948, we formally requested UN, and the government, when we requested the UN under Article 35 of the Indian Constitution, Article 35 of the UN Charter, it permits a member state to bring in any situation which can endanger international peace and the Security Council attention. So that is Article 35 of the UN Charter. Under Article 35 of the UN Charter, India approached the UN regarding the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, and India said Pakistan is invading, Pakistan is an aggressor, and UN Security Council should take enough steps to stop Pakistan from invading and attacking Jammu and Kashmir, where we said that Jammu and Kashmir has joined Indian Union through instrument of accession. So the UN passed a resolution which is and formed this UNCIP. So when India approached in 1948 under Article 35 of the UN Charter, the UN passed a resolution and formed what is known as UNCIP, that is United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan, UN Commission for India and Pakistan. So UN passed a resolution and UNCIP was created, and to investigate and mediate between the two countries. That is how the UN created this United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan. And this resolution, when the UN passed the resolution, it recommended a 3-step process to end the dispute. Please remember, very significant, the UN recommended a 3-step procedure, 3-step process to end the dispute, 3-step process to end the dispute. The UN suggested a 3-step process to end the dispute, and in that, number 1, it said withdrawal from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, the tribesmen and Pakistani nationals. It asked Pakistan to withdraw its tribesmen and Pak nationals, whether it is army jawans, whoever it is, Pakistan should withdraw from Jammu and Kashmir. That is number 1, very significant. And number 2, the government of India, since it is already joined Indian Union, were asked to reduce its forces. India was asked to reduce the tension, reduce its forces in Jammu and Kashmir. India was asked to reduce its forces, not to vacate. We were asked to reduce its forces. And number 3, government of India was also asked to appoint a plebiscite administration. India was asked to prepare for a plebiscite administration. India was asked to prepare and appoint a plebiscite administration to hold the plebiscite. So this is how the UNCIP came into being, Commission for India and Pakistan came into being, and this was the UN resolution. But unfortunately, this plebiscite never happened. Even though both sides accepted the recommendation, Pakistan never fulfilled, it never withdrew its personnel from the POK. So that is why, and Pakistan accused India also not honoring what we agreed on, but whatever it is, both the sides did not fully honor what was said. India did not reduce its troops, Pakistan did not withdraw its nationals, and ultimately the plebiscite did not take place. So the UN Commission, subsequently then UNCIP, managed to broker a ceasefire. Please, we know that a ceasefire was brokered by UNCIP, and a ceasefire came into force on 1st January 1949, and the war ended on 5th January 1949. So that was an achievement of the UN Commission. It managed to bring in a ceasefire. And in 1951, just one more point I would like to add here. In 1951, this UNCIP it terminated its mandate, or rather, CIP completed its mandate. UNCIP mandate got terminated. So when the UNCIP mandate got terminated, a new commission, or rather it was known as United Nations Military Observer Group, UNMOG, MOGIP was created, that is United Nations Military Observer Group, UN Military Observer Group for India and Pakistan. For India and Pakistan was established to monitor the ceasefire. So, the UNCIP, this Commission on India and Pakistan, finally managed to have a ceasefire and their mandate got ended. Now, you have a military observer group to monitor the ceasefire line. To monitor. What is the purpose of UNMOGIP? That is United Nations Military Observer Group for India and Pakistan, to monitor the ceasefire line was established, and it is still continuing. This UNMOGIP is still continuing, but subsequently in 1972, when India and Pakistan signed the Shimla Agreement, we changed the name of the ceasefire line into line of control. The ceasefire line name nomenclature was changed to LOC. And we also declared that Kashmir dispute is a bilateral dispute. See, that is a very significant change. In the Shimla Agreement, both India and Pakistan agreed. We defeated Pakistan in the war. Pakistan was on the receiving end, and we dictated terms, no doubt regarding that. And in that process, or in the Shimla Agreement, we made a big change in our overall approach between India and Pakistan agreed that Jammu and Kashmir is a bilateral issue, and we will not agree on any third party mediation, and we will resolve it through bilateral negotiations, and third party intervention is denied. Third party intervention is denied, or we will not encourage any third party intervention. That is what we made in the Shimla Agreement. We dictated Shimla Agreement. India was on the victorious side, Pakistan was on the defeated side. Pakistan had no choice. Pakistani Prime Minister at that time, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, had to come to India. In Shimla, the negotiation took place and he had to sign, and in that we made a big change. We said Kashmir issue is a bilateral dispute, line of control, any dispute, this will be discussed and negotiated between India and Pakistan and not through any third party mediation. And India, since then, in fact since 1972, we stopped lodging any complaint with the UN observers. Since 1972, India stopped, even though the military observer group is still continuing, India stopped lodging any complaint with this UN mission. We stopped complaining, or the UN observers. So we have this, even today, this UNMOGIP still there. That is UN Military Observer Group for India and Pakistan is still there. They are still active there, but we are not complaining to them anymore. Why? Because we signed the Shimla Agreement. We insisted on Shimla Agreement, and we said that this will be resolved bilaterally. Pakistan also agreed. Even if Pakistan complains, we don't bother about that. So we have ultimately agreed that it will be resolved bilaterally, and we are not able to resolve it bilaterally. That is another issue. So we went to UN. Now the bottom line of my discussion is, we demanded plebiscite. It's not agreed. We demanded, India demanded plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir, because we were 100% sure about the opinion of the people. People were overwhelmingly in favor of joining Indian Union at that time. And we demanded, we went to UN in 1948, asking the security, under Article 35 of the UN Charter, and asked Security Council or the UN to interfere to stop this war, stop this aggression from Pakistan. The UN passed a resolution and demanded Pakistan to withdraw from Jammu and Kashmir immediately, from the Pakistan occupied Kashmir immediately, number one. Number 2, India was asked to reduce its troops. And number 3, India was asked to prepare for a plebiscite administration to implement plebiscite immediately. We were more than happy to do that. This was reiterated by Nehru in 1953 also. But subsequently things went wrong because of the Cold War era, because of the Cold War politics. UN never implemented this. The politics entered the scene. UN could not implement their own resolution for Pakistan to withdraw. They did not do it, and ultimately one-third of Pakistan, one-third of Kashmir is still with Pakistan, and India continued with the Indian side, and the dispute is still continuing. The ceasefire line of 1949, 1st January 1949, is what is treated as the line of control today. And in 1972, during the Shimla Agreement, we said we will resolve it bilaterally, and we also said that the ceasefire line or the line of control should not be violated. So by 1972, India was more or less, or India was ready to accept the reality that POK is with Pakistan and we are not going to get it back, and that is why we wanted line of control treated as the de facto boundary line, or nobody should violate line of control was our insistence in 1972. So that is how India went to UN, and I also talked about the plebiscite and referendum. In plebiscite, the decision is to be implemented, and it had an undemocratic connotation, that is true, but normally plebiscite word is used when a sovereignty question is asked, or when a constitution is to be adopted and something like that. But referendum is asked when there is a general opinion of the people, and it may not be binding, it may be only advisory in nature. So that is what about plebiscite, referendum, and India going to UN, and why we went to UN. All these things are clearly mentioned here. So that's about this particular topic.